Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about The Man Called Flintstone from 1966. And this is a winner of the Patreon movie review vote. If you would like for me to review a movie of your choice, then click on the link below and pledge, and maybe I'll be reviewing your movie next month. And this winner was selected by Dan Leon. This is the second of the Hanna-Barbera, or directed by Joseph Barbera and William Hanna movies. The last one, which was also a movie review winner, Hey There, It's Yogi Bear, came out 2 years before this. And this was sort of meant to be end sort of series finale, swan song sort of thing, even though if you watch this movie you wouldn't know it, of the Flintstones, who just wrapped up production, had ended, and this came out 4 months later. I will say, I think this, unlike the last one, I think this is a big step up actually. Animation is a lot better. This seems to fit the characters a lot better as well. There are some story problems, and I did wear thin towards the end, but it worked better in that it didn't bug me. And although as I'm watching these, seeing the early versions of a TV show that then gets a movie, these are, I think, some of the first example. I know Yogi Bear was the first. This is probably I don't know if it's the second, but it's among the first couple. It becomes very apparent to me that Beavis and Butthead America is the best one that there ever was, that was really good at doing that. And these are rough ideas to do that before that happened, which is interesting. But I think this is an actual good attempt. This comes out in 1966. This is kind of the 60s before the end of the 60s, which seems to be what the 60s are mostly known for. This is sort of the James Bond 60s, the Sean Connery Bond films that were so influential and such a big deal at the time. And so this is sort of making fun of this spy craze. I know Fred in the poster is supposed to look in Flint or something. Just getting on the spy thing. Why have the Flintstones do that? I don't really know. Look, Goldfinger was really good, I guess. I don't. Those first 3 James Bond movies are great. I get it. But sometimes the spy parody obsession, you think there's a lot of bad spy movies. Look at all the bad spy parodies. But this is, I think, fun because it's not necessarily, it is a spy parody in just a certain regard, but it's through the idea of the Flintstones and Fred Flintstone and him looking like another spy. Was it Rock Slag? Wow, okay, I just got that one. Rock Slag. But the Flintstones are supposed to go on a trip with the Rebels, a camping trip, and then the spy guy notices he looks like Rock Slag, and Rock Slag's who's this big secret agent, James Bond type guy. He's been injured, so they need Flintstone to go to Paris, which exists in the Flintstone world. They don't even make it a funny Flintstone name, and then they just go to Rome, that existed in the Flintstone time. And he goes there to stop this bad guy who is gonna make a really bad thing, and so he has to help the perceived government or whatever governing body works with the Flintstones. Not fully sure on that one. This isn't making fun of the concept of the Flintstones. It's just I'm not sure. Maybe there is or maybe there isn't. I don't know. But he has to kind of help stop this big super villainous guy from happening. Fred sort of lying to his wife under the idea, because he doesn't tell Wilma, and under the idea of I know what the Flintstones are. I know what the Honeymooners are, but I know what the Flintstones are, and the idea of Fred lying to his wife, being a secret agent, seems I don't know, a thing that Fred would do. It just it sort of works with the character. I get when you see a movie of a TV show, gonna be a little subpar. So I was into that regard. However, I thought it really actually worked under the aspect of the whole thing. It understood using that premise with these certain characters. I think the whole journey thing worked a lot better because they had some sort of a reason, the whole deal of going to a zoo and stuff. And I think the animation was a lot better. than Yogi Bear. I know the Flintstones usually had better animation than Yogi Bear, but it's not amazing, but it's a noticeable step up from the other one. However, one thing they do is Pebbles and Bam Bam don't really have much of, they're sort of just there. And there's a certain point where they like are going to bed and then sing a song. It really never comes back. It has no reason to be there except for like, hey, Pebbles and Bam Bam need to have a scene. And they do, but it like, I wish it had connected a little more, because later on, like after that, Fred, who is dealing with like pretty earth-shattering consequences in this film, to be honest, like he's seeing his kids play and he's realizing like if he doesn't stop this, like things could go really bad for his kids, and this is like a pretty big moment for him. And I was thinking like you could have like written this a little, like it's just not written very well. They really could have gotten a connection there, and they sort of just like let them have a dumb song about being kids, and it's like, I mean, that's neat, but like Fred and no one else hears it, so it's sort of like it could have happened or it could not have happened in the narrative of this film. It really means like jack shit. Like, in all honesty, it's like, it's not that I think it's a horrible song and it shouldn't exist, but also in the context of the movie, it has virtually no reason to exist. Like, there's no character thing, the kids don't come back at a certain point. The kids have one real narrative goal, and they sort of just go, oh, the kids are playing, man, Fred would be bummed if they die. And you're like, come on, we could have milked that a little. We could have done something more with that. And it's just, that was sort of a waste. I was kind of actually annoyed. I was like, come on, Flintstone movie. Come on, Hanna-Barbera. I was with you. And why did you do this right now? As well as, like, the rock slag stuff is fine. It's silly, whatever. But, like, when you actually meet the villain, that's really when you get towards the end and like the understanding of it, it really goes off the rails and becomes just like real stupid. And not that it wasn't before, but it sort of bothered me more. There's so many things in this film where they bring up like Rome and Paris, and suddenly they can fly on planes and stuff, that like I started thinking that like, well, no, so I started thinking that like maybe, like, you've heard the whole thing like the Flintstones are in a post-apocalyptic world. I don't know what the deal is. To my understanding, the Flintstones take place before the Jetsons. That's my limited understanding of that one. I saw their meetup in the 80s. I'm sure I don't need to revisit that, but in my mind though, like this takes place in the prehistoric times, and now we're in our present times. But if they knew things like Rome and Paris and there was airports and stuff, what I honestly think is it's not post-apocalyptic. I think all these things happened then, and then we had like a super extreme dark ages where like all of that was erased and then rebuilt up, and we're just like doomed to repeat the same stupid crap and name the cities the same stupid things, and like that's how they can have a Christmas special. There was a Jesus before, but they like we just got a rebooted Jesus or something. And like my concept now for the next generation of Flintstones is Pebbles and Bam Bam watch society collapse, like the Flintstones all die, and then they watch society collapse and become the Dark Ages, and everyone forgets everything, and everyone thinks like prehistoric people are like really stupid, when in fact they'd built up this entire society off of rocks and all this stuff, and like it totally just gets completely erased and forgotten about, and that's how the Flintstones, it like makes sense they have all this stuff. Anyway, I'm not saying this movie grabbed my attention a lot, because that is what I thought about while watching this movie, but if anyone wants to see my super dark, scary Flintstones pitch, it's basically like Pebbles and Bam watch society crumble. See, that's a rock joke around them, and I think that would be a great show. I think that sounds amazing. Like, you watch these people who you're like, no, but like we had a place called Paris, and like, yeah, okay, cave guy, whatever. I don't think these movies are. The thing is with William Hanna and Joseph Barbera is that the Tom and Jerry shorts, which did play theatrically, and I know I brought this up in the last review, are legitimately great. They're amazingly great shorts. They don't probably get enough credit for how great of a job they are, and it sort of stinks when I see their movies and they don't have that innovation and the smarts and the visual language of those I ever see in these features, and that I find extremely disappointing, because it feels like they're really creative theatrical animation directors But when they make these movies, like, the criticism of most Hanna-Barbera, it feels like, they're just sort of like using like stock scripts and like stock ideas and like the same things over and over again. And this isn't like that crazy of an idea. It's like, okay, a spy parody in the 60s. I guess that's funny. I mean, they do get it to work for the most part. I would say 75% of this movie actually works pretty well. And if you're into the Flintstones, I would recommend it. I do think like the parts that don't work, like the Pebbles and Bam Bam thing, really does not work at all. Like, just unless you really like them singing songs about being kids and stuff, then like I guess that's your thing. But like, it really does not matter to the movie at all. The villain is just too much. For some reason, I kept thinking Anne Margaret's in this, and I don't know why I thought that, to be perfectly honest with you. I think she was on the show. I'm not going to look it up because she wasn't in this movie, so who cares? But this is a fun little movie. I liked it as a spy parody, but I think I didn't just like it because of spy parody. I like it because it is the Flintstones spy parody. And like, I knew who the Flintstones are. You all know who, I think. They're not just people who sell you vitamins and cereal. You know those characters, you know what it's going to do, you know all those things. And so when you see him becoming a spy, it feels very natural. And I was like kind of impressed at how they got the character of Fred, character of Barney and Wilma and Betty to all work within this. And I think that's the real kind of genius of this, is like I think when Hanna-Barbera works, like, yes, we've seen the Scooby-Doo plot a million times, we've seen this plot a million times, but it's when they get that to work with the characters and you yourself as an audience have that familiarity with the characters. I think that's when like their style really pops. And I think for the most part, this is a good example of that. Not a great one. I think there are better episodes of the Flintstones, but it sort of is good enough that you feel like it's more warranted than it probably actually is. But it feels like it's sort of like they got it to work better than I'm surprised they did based on the last one. There's a major step up from the Yogi Bear film. It feels like they really cared about Fred Flintstone and him being a spy and stuff, and found a way to, oddly enough, like get this to actually work and get this to work within the characters of the Flintstones. And that's kind of like the reason you're seeing this in the first place. So as a Flintstone movie, I think it works very well. It might be the best Flintstone movie. Maybe why not? I guess competition's not great. I mean, why not? Let's say it is. I'm not gonna. Viva Rock Vegas is really, anyway, I do think this works within understanding that the Flintstones are really great characters, and there's a reason you use the same kind of stock thing over and over again, and this kind of like works within that and still maintains, for the most part, being a lot of fun and working within its sort of own narrative. It feels like they actually cared to get this to work. And sometimes I know, Hanna-Barbera is known for its limited animation and its economics and things like that, but it's also nice to know that they sort of cared enough about these characters to get a silly plot like this be entertaining enough to work. I just wish they'd gotten the rest of it to be as good, but seeing 70% of a good Flintstones movie was, decent enough. At least it was a better attempt than those other two, but hey, I guess, it's a living. So if you've seen The Man Called Flintstone and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to. And if you would like for me to review a movie of your choice, then click on the link below and pledge, and maybe I'll be reviewing your movie next month. Thank you very much for watching.